Welcome to Rich to Far Tactics, where we discuss and analyze battle reports for Warhammer 40k Killteam. Today we got a Nova Open mission with two players, one playing Deathwatch, the other playing Orks. As you can see, we already got the lists on the screen, so we'll talk about those. We also got the primaries and the secondaries, so we'll do kind of a pre-game discussion before we actually start the game and dive into the real tactics. If you got any ideas about or preferences about the kind of missions you want to see, let us know in the comments below, and just send us a message and we'll see if we can play the game with the mission pack that you like. We try to play Nova Open as well as Slaughterfest as well as the specific tournament packs that are released for before grand tournaments. So we try to stay up to date and also are trying to generate some new and innovative ideas about creating well-balanced missions as well. So without further ado, let's dive into this battle report. On the left you can see the Deathwatch played by Sibe. This is a very clear elite list. He's got a leader, a 3 specialist and another gunner as well. We've got on the right side the Ork player, pretty common Gretchen leader, trying to hide everywhere. Watch him very well. And then just lots and lots of close combat Ork boys. He's also got 3 commandos, so those will be deep striking most likely. And a really killy boss knob with a power claw. Generally the Ork has got an advantage in the early game and most likely the mid game a bit as well, depending on how many kills the Grey Knight player or rather the Deathwatch player can get in the early turns. Later in the game the Deathwatch player should be able to rack up some more points, but he really needs to start killing the Orks early on. If we look at the secondaries, we can see there's Obliteration, Cut Apart and Evaluate Find on the left bottom side for the Deathwatch player, and Wreck and Sweep, Engage in North France and Evaluate Find on the right side bottom for the Ork player. So clearly the Deathwatch player is looking to score some points by killing stuff, which plays nicely into his late game plan, most likely to score some more objectives late game by killing a lot of Orks in the early game, where the Ork player is trying to make use of the horde that he's got and brought to the table by scoring Wreck and Sweep with his Deep Strike, Engage in our front by spreading out and giving the Deathwatch player too many things to think about, while also scoring the objectives. Alright, so that's the pre-game. Let's start the game up and see what is going on with the deployment. Alright, so we can see here the deployment has started, as well as the first turn already. Initiative is going to the Deathwatch player, and you can see he's moving up. So let's see what we got. So we got 4 objectives spread out, one in each deployment zone or at the edge of each deployment zone, one at the left side, one at the right side for the players. And the Ork player wants to spread out, which is pretty clear, and this is very favorable of him because he needs to score Engage in our front and Wreck and Sweep as well. There is an objective to score at the Deathwatch side of the field, so we can try to threaten the Deathwatch on their side and score a secondary objective. The Ork player can also safely hang back with a few Ork boys on his home objective while scoring Evaluate Find. So the Ork is in a really favorable position early on. The Deathwatch player, as you can see, is trying to move up a little bit. He's got a lucky advance roll at the bottom, which allows him to run up with one of his, I think it's the black shield that we got there. So that's a 3+ Anvil and closely followed by the frag cannon, and the black shield is at the middle. Remember that the frag cannons are assault, so they can advance and shoot, and that's very favorable if you want to get some early shots but also maintain some speed. Looks like they mix something up with the placement of the specialist, so that's changed. Now it's the orc turn to move. So as you can see, the orc is not going to use any of his shooting, most likely. Just going to run up the field, try to get into combat as quickly as he can, while also trying to hide as many orcs as he can from shooting, because he needs to stay alive especially in the first turn. Whereas the Deathwatch player wants to take out as many orcs that are close to him, and the Deathwatch player basically needs to take out, well, let's say 4 or 5 boys to really get a favorable chance of scoring more objectives in the third and fourth turn. So something that really helps if you want to think about what to do with your team, depending on if you've got an elite or a horde team, is think about the field in three zones. You got your own zone, your friendly zone. You got the midfield, and you got the enemy zone. In your own zone, the friendly zone, your own deployment, it's relatively safe. You can most likely score an objective. You can maybe take some pot shots as model. So there's a low risk, but also not a very high reward. So low risk, low reward. In the midfield, you can basically score more objectives. Most likely, you also get access to more objectives. As you can see, the Deathwatch and the Orc in the middle, they can probably advance or move to one of the objectives to the side. So they got choices to make. Whereas the Deathwatch at the bottom, or the Orcs at the bottom of the screen, they only got one choice, basically, which is to go straight ahead to the next objective. So as we can see, the orc is still moving all his models up. Notice that the Deathwatch player hasn't used Evaluate Find on the first turn. So he's probably trying to see if he can spare a model later in the turns, if he's got if he doesn't have initiative, so he can react to the orc player, and if he knows he can get enough done in the turn, he might try and score the Evaluate Find points. Alright, so end of the movement turn, the orc player drops his commandos and spends the command point. Clearly going for whack and sweep here. Deathwatch player could have screened a little bit better maybe. But at the same time, remember that the Deathwatch player just needs to move up a little bit in order to still have enough movement to reach the other objective, so he can't hang back too much. And if the orc player doesn't reach with the orc boys in the midfield into the Deathwatch player in the second or third turn, the orc is gonna have a problem. So if the Deathwatch player manages to take out a lot of the orcs in the midfield, then retreat a little bit and take out the commandos, the distance for the orc boys to travel might be too big, and the Deathwatch player can run away with the game by scoring tons of points on a secondary objective, whereas the orc player might not be able to score any secondary objectives if the commandos get taken out, except for Evaluate Find. So both players are in a decent good position right now. The orc player is pushing up. Maybe he could be a little bit more aggressive. He's got a few orcs grouped up close to the ice at the bottom right. So the Deathwatch player is taking some shots, trying to see if he can take out the orcs. Looks like he spent a command point to reroll, but that's still not enough, unfortunately. So here goes a pistol. Always remember, even if you got orcs, you can still totally take out some unexpected damage, or dish out some unexpected damage by shooting pistols. They are still strength 4. You still need to make a save if you get through, and it's still 50-50 on a flash wound if you are straight up into the model. Alright, so more shots fired. That's another fill wound, so a little unlucky for the Deathwatch player. Luckily the one, he chose the Orc Boy for his Deathwatch special rule, so he can reroll once against Orc Boys. But still nothing going on because there's a save for the Orc Boy. Let's see, so right now we got 2 Orc Boys on the home object, on their home objective, scoring evaluate find and hold 1. We got both players on 2 objectives, so right now they are scoring equally on the primaries. And based on what we're seeing right now, nothing's going to change there, as the frag cannon at the center, closer to the middle, has already fired at the boys in the back and hasn't been able to take those 2 out. And so far it looks like let's see, the veteran, Deathwatch veteran with the storm shield has also survived so far. So shots are fired, and this time we finally get some damage. Some orcs are killed. And this is what the Deathwatch player needs. He's finally starting to grind some kills. There's another one from a flash wound to a kill. And there goes nothing. So all Deathwatch models have fired, which means we move to the morale most likely, and we can get our points. Let's see. So second turn, looks like it. We got some points, so hold 1, hold 2 for both players, and nothing on the secondaries for the Deathwatch player. Excuse me, I'm trying to figure this out. Deathwatch player got initiative again. So into the movement phase we go. Let's see if we got all the primaries and secondaries right here. Yeah, the Deathwatch player did score obliteration. So he took out an orc. So currently the score is 3-4, or rather, excuse me, 3-5 in favor of the orcs. So the orcs did his job. Deathwatch player still staying close, already scored a secondary, stayed even on the primaries, which is very, very well played by him. So as you can see, the Deathwatch player decides to use another command point here. So we need to keep those updated for the Deathwatch player. So the Deathwatch player used this tactic to fall back and still not be able to shoot, which is a very, very useful tactic. It's kind of similar to the Eldar Fire and Fate, where you can shoot, or Feint Retreat rather, where you can fall back from a model when you are in combat and then still continue to shoot or charge. However, the The Deathwatch tactic can only be used when you are charged and you want to fall back, or rather retreat. Retreat is the specific wording. Alright, so as you can see, the Deathwatch player is getting charged by the Orks, and this is excellent for the Ork. He wants to get his models on top of the Deathwatch player as soon as he can. He's now threatening to score more objectives on the primary, and is finally able to get into combat already on the second turn. Unfortunately, you can see the boss knob didn't make a charge, which is pretty important because even though there are 3 Ork boys right there at the bottom, the Storm Shield has got a 3+ invul save, so he can take a lot of damage. He can also dish out a decent bit of damage, and the Black Shield Power Sword Combat Specialist is close by the bottom combat, so he can join in the fight. And the Ork is trying to make some more charges. Unfortunately, he's failing some ones that are in the middle. If he did make a charge with the center Ork into the Black Shield, that would have been great, as that would have forced the Deathwatch player to probably dive into the fight with some of his ranged models, just to clear out his own part of the field there and stay safe, because if the Ork does manage to take out the Black Shield at the center and then consolidate into the backfield objective, the Ork is in a very, very favorable position. Of course, we are in turn 2. I need to stay up to date with those. Alright, we're on to the Deathwatch players' movement here, I believe. The Ork decided to not move with his commandos, which might be a bit strange, considering that that they are pretty good at combat and also can like take some real damage because of the -1 to hit that they get added on as long as they have cover or are obstructed. So the Deathwatch player needs to figure out if he wants to move back a little bit and then take out the commandos, which is going to be really hard because he needs to shoot at them and they are -2 to hit automatically if you are in cover, which they are most likely. As you can see, he's trying to see if he can take down the Orks at the objective in order to prevent him from scoring more objectives and also preventing him from scoring Evaluate Find, which is a fine move. He's also got a target on a few Orks at the center probably, and he's got a target on the commando, so if the commando tries to charge him at the objective, he can shoot Overwatch at least, or fall back or retreat again with the tactic later on, and the commando might get baited there and get shot at. You can see the frag cannon is moving up. You can safely ignore that combat from now, and even if the Orks do manage to go out of combat, they probably don't want to engage the frag cannon by charging because of the flamer. So this is a smart move. The Deathwatch is now able to already threaten the backfield, and there's a very lucky charge. The Black Shield of course got a reroll, but he really wants to get in there, and as the Black Shield might now be able to take out some of those Orks and then further threaten the other objectives. And also there are now 3 Orks against 3 Deathwatch models, so the bottom objective is contested, and it is actually very likely the Ork is not going to win at that bottom fight. At least odds are unfavorable. Alright, and now we move into the shooting phase. So as we can see, there's a shot of going into the Ork. That's a miss. got shots into the back ones. I believe this is the... Yep, 3 shots from the Furnace Heavy Boulder. 1 hits. That's a wound. Let's see. And that's probably the flesh wound. Yep. Yep, there we go, flesh wound. So that's not enough yet to get those off the objective. Only 1 flesh wound, so the other one survives. Both did the evaluate find. Frag cannon. 2 shots. 1 hits, 1 wounds. This is gonna be big. If the frag cannon takes out that boss knob, this fight is gonna might go real quick, because the commandos are very far back, and the commando with the power claw is at the bottom or the top side. Ooh, and there we go. Yep, that's the boss knob taken out. And so right now the orc boys at the center are only 2 of them. So as you can see, there's a lot of orcs taken out already. 3 of the orcs are at the bottom side, and they are not very likely to win that fight. So it's very important that he at least takes out 1 of the Deathwatch models there. He needs to. He needs to take out at least 1 of those. So the orc charges first. And let's see what's going on. The Deathwatch player spent a command point for reroll just before. Oh, that's okay. So that's the the combat power sword, and that's not much. All misses. And this might be good for the orc. He can finally hit back. Let's see. Two hits, 2 wounds. Yep, there we go. That's 1. So the veteran. Ooh, there we go. The veteran power model has taken out 2 orcs. And that's very lucky, and that's also obliteration because it's got multiple damage with the frag cannon before. And he also scores cut apart right now because he's taken out a model. Luckily for the orc player, he still is going to score some good points. Let's see. Oh, and that's the leader of the Deathwatch taking out the commando. Luckily the orc still got one orc model right there that he's pointing at right now. He's going to fight as well. Now we're going to move into morale phase. So we got hold 1, hold 2 for both players. We got cut apart once. That's the initiative roll already, so I need to hurry up. Initiative goes to the... Let's see who takes it. Well, we're still figuring out the scores, I guess. I'll change the command points. The orc has got a lot of command points, and he's using 1 hour to the morale phase. Excuse me. He's using 1 command point to make sure he's not taken out. And now we're into the movement phase. Alright, so the orc scored Reckon Sweep, Evaluate Find, Engage in France. All 3 of them again. And the Deathwatch player scored obliteration, cut apart, hold 1, hold 2. And the score is 10-7 for the Orks. And the Deathwatch player got initiative and is now moving in turn 3. Alright, so let's see. The bottom left quarter for us as a viewer only got 1 orc remaining. Assuming that orc is going to be taken out, the orc player is most likely going to score engage in our fronts, as there's just too many Deathwatch player models right there. And you can see the orc is generally just almost outnumbered, which sounds strange, because he just hasn't managed to take out any of the Deathwatch models. The Deathwatch player played pretty conservatively for the first 2 turns. The orc player really hasn't used any of the top 2, 3, 4 models that are there. 1 failed a charge, but the other 2 at the top didn't do anything except stand on the objectives with 2 models, which at turn 3 is kind of strange for now. And of course he had 2 orc boys at his home objective, which kind of makes sense because he wants to be safe. But sometimes playing too safe can also happen, and right now it's just being outnumbered. Do notice this move on the bottom right. The Deathwatch frag cannon is moving into flame range. However, the Deathwatch player hasn't noticed the Gretchen leader just behind the tree there, so that might turn ugly there. Alright, looks like the sword is going to stay right there. And the leader is trying to take out the other commando. He might score obliteration because he's got a combi plasma, so he can really use the combi plasma here. One of the Deathwatch models at the home objectives going for evaluate find. Oh, hang on. So the Deathwatch player is now scoring a safe secondary because he managed to put into play his game plan. He killed enough of the orc boys, so now he can finally catch up to the orc player. Here we can see the Gretchen charging the Deathwatch frag cannon from behind the tree, and that's why you gotta always remember where those little Gretchens are. You might not see them for the whole game, and then there they are, ruining your plan of final obliteration. Alright, let's see what the orc is going to do. This is so tough. The power mole at the center can be charged, however he's also blocking the way through to the bottom objective, where obviously the combat specialist with the power sword from the Deathwatch has a great advantage over his orc boy counterpart. And we can see the orc boy is trying to charge into the Deathwatch frag cannon now that it's safe. Remember, we are only in turn 3, so if the orc gets taken away from his 2 objectives, the Deathwatch player is absolutely going to win this. Alright, so here's another charge into the Deathwatch Storm Shield, and even if he gets in those two orcs, they might not even be able to kill him, just like before. Remember, we still got quite a few command points left as well. 1 less for the orc player. Alright, So that's it for the movement. And notice how the commando is still hiding behind the bush. Of course, scoring rack and sweep, most likely. But he's not threatening the objective. That's controlled by the Deathwatch player for like 3 turns now safely. Whereas the Deathwatch player is in the enemy zone almost and is threatening that objective within 2 turns, whereas the Orc player is already there for 3 turns now. And the objective at the top is totally ignored by the Deathwatch player, which means that the 2 Orcs there, and one of them, remember, is a commando with a power claw, have not been doing anything for the whole game currently, except for score a safe objective. Alright, so that's hit, shooting. Those are misses. Nothing else to shoot, I believe, so we can move into combat. Let's see. Alright, so the power mole is going to intervene. 2 command points. 2 hits on both. That's 1 taken out by the power mole. Another 1 hits, another 1 wounds. No save. Injury roll. Oh, and that's such a pain for the Orc player. Like, he's lost all control right now. The power mole's taken out 4 of the Orc boys, which is absolutely crazy. But of course, that's what can happen. Alright, that's a hit and a wound by a God actually. And that's a save. Oof. That's Gretchen leader. Almost taking out the Orc or the Deathwatch. Alright. Moving closer with the Deathwatch. Trying to hit, trying to wound. Deathwatch. Veteran Gunner takes the saves. Manages to get away. Hits back. Hits 1. Wounds 1. No save. I believe this is on the Orc boy. Or on the Gretchen, we'll see. Oh, flash wound reroll. Nope. Leader is alive. Hits, wounds on the Orc boy. No save, and another flash wound. And there's no reroll this time. But the Orc player is definitely going to take another broken test in a couple of minutes. Hang on. We're still in the assault phase. Combat at the bottom. Oof, he's making up for his earlier failures there. Hitting, wounding, not enough 6s there for the Orc boy, and that's taken out of action. Oh man, that hurts. That hurts so much. It's kind of expected though. The power mole hurts so much more. So the Orc is still scoring evaluate find most likely, and weapon sweep depending on the broken test that he's going to take. However, we do definitely have hold 1 and 2 for the Deathwatch player. Oh, there the commando goes down. Doesn't score, I can sweep. That's going to hurt. He doesn't score engage in fronts. He manages to at least rescue his leader and takes the command point to save his Gretchen. Oh man, hurts. So, let's see. Oh. Oh, fuck. No, that sucked. Alright, let's move. I gotta keep up with this. Initiative, movement. Initiative goes to the Deathwatch player again. So he's got move initiative four times this turn, I believe. That's a bit much. But that's what might happen. Command points added up. Let's see. Yeah, basically this is gonna be a cleanup for the Deathwatch player. You can charge into everything that's remaining. Deathwatch player scored cut apart. Scored is probably going to score evaluate find. I gotta keep up with this. Hang on, boys. Alright, I'm up to date. Let's see, what's going on here? Yeah, shooting. And actually, that plasma took out the leader of the Deathwatch players. Yep, those plasmas. Always dangerous to use them. Anyway, you can see the frag cannon is going to take down some orks at the top. Managed to do it, so that's another obliteration point for the Deathwatch. He's maxed it out. He's got 3 there. The featherweight find is not going to be denied by the orc, as there is 1 Deathwatch model on the home objective, cruising it there. Now we got the bottom fight. As you can see, there's 1 orc down. So the Deathwatch player is going to score all of the objectives as well. He's going to hold more this turn, for sure. Let's see. And that's the game. There we go. Alright, that's the game, boys. So this was such an interesting game, actually. The orc player clearly had a game plan in the beginning. He was going to score a lot of objectives in the early 2 turns at least. He could easily max out his secondary 1, 2, and 3. Reckon sweep against from France, evaluate find. Well, at least score them twice because of the deep strike. He had the commandos that could easily hide, behind the trees and behind the iceberg as well. He could safely sit on his home objective. He could spread out, score engagement on France. And then he did have to get into combat in the second or third turn. Because what happened now was that the Deathwatch player could use the orcs that were at the center of the field to bridge into the enemy zone. Of course, the Deathwatch player did get some really good fighting with his power maul that took out 4 orc boys, which was massive for this battle. But even if he didn't take out those orc boys, the Deathwatch player still had equal control on turn 2 and turn 3. Because the commandos were just sitting back a little bit too far, just sitting on rack and sweep and not really doing anything else. The commando power claw at the top objective just sat there for 4 turns, and then finally got shot off the table, I believe, by the frag cannon, giving up obliteration as well, which of course could have been any other model. But it just goes to show that even if you got a horde army, you can't just drop some of your models here and there and not do anything with them in regards to pressuring objectives or pressuring models from the enemy. Every model in a horde army counts. You win by numbers, which means you have to use those numbers in shooting, in combat, in movement. And this is where the Deathwatch player made great use by staying close with the models he had, not really moving up over the half field up to the second turn. And in the second turn he took out quite a few of the orc boys after you already took out some of the orc boys in the first turn. And then in the third and fourth turn, because the orcs didn't have any real pressure onto the Deathwatch player, because the midfield was cleared and the gap between the top and bottom objective was too big, the Deathwatch could like make a beeline or a bridge, if you like, for the enemy objective, and like just take over the game from there. And score is pretty close, 14-12, I believe, if I'm correct. Yeah, so we got, let's see what we got. Oh, he actually scored one hold more, so it's 15-12. And then we got 3 alliteration, 2 cut aparts. Is that correct? No, 3 cut aparts actually. So it's 16. So let's see, hold more. Evaluate find, only 2. And that's a great use of evaluate find as well, knowing that if you want to beat a horde army, you need to kill a lot of models in the first turns, and then you most likely will have one model that is sitting either at the back or at some other objective, and it's not really going to do anything, that you can just like spend that model to score another point, which is the objective. So well done. Alright, that's it, let's wrap it up. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the comment or like or whatever pleases you. Subscribe to the channel. If you like more, if you would like to see more of this battle report, or if you have any tips or things you'd like to see, let us know. Thanks a lot for watching, for listening, and we'll see you at the next battle report. See you on the other side of the bridge. Bye bye.